Joe and Frank looked at each other sadly as Frank rang the doorbell at Paul and Dylan's house. "It feels like we are giving up," Joe said, shaking his head. "We're not giving up," Frank said reasonably. "We're just telling Dylan the truth. We can keep looking for Lucy even after the Battle of the Bands." But Joe felt bad. This may be the first case the Hardy boys couldn't solve. Frank frowned. "Don't say that, we still might solve it." The door opened and both boys looked up to see Dylan at the door, or Dylan as he probably looked after he got out of bed. His long clothes stuck out in every direction, and he was wearing a t-shirt and sweatpants that looked like he might have slept in them. Joe breathed in the winds. Joe breathed in and winced. "Has Dylan showered today? It didn't smell like it." "Hey guys," Dylan said glumly, and Joe realized that he hadn't brushed his teeth either. "Sorry, I'm kind of a mess. Without Lucy, I've just been watching cartoons all day. Trying to forget about the battle tonight." "Maybe you should shower," Frank said, and Joe winced again. Frank liked to tell it like it was. "You might feel better if you were clean." Dylan seemed to think about it. "I think I would just be clean and sad," he said. "Anyway, come in, you guys." He led the boys through the living room. Joe spotted a dent in the couch that looked just about Dylan's size, and into the kitchen. A pitcher of lemonade sat on the table with 3 glasses and a package of cookies. Dylan plopped onto a chair. "So you guys wanted to talk about Lucy?" he said, hope lighting his eyes. "Did you find her?" Joe glanced at Frank, clearing his throat. He said after a moment, deciding to follow Frank's lead and tell it like it was. "No." Dylan seemed to sink. "Oh," he said, "I figured you probably hadn't. If you had, you would have told me on the phone." Frank jumped in. "We are really sorry," he said. "We talked to a lot of people and followed a lot of leads, but nobody knew anything. We've been looking all week," Joe added, "but I guess we hadn't been looking in the right places." Dylan nodded, but he didn't say anything. Then he put his head in his hands. Joe was feeling really bad now. He looked at Frank, hoping his brother would know what to say. He did get you a bass guitar you can use to play tonight though," Frank told Dylan. If you want it." Dylan didn't move. "I don't know," he said quietly. "It won't be Lucy." "Well, no," Joe agreed, "but it will be a way to make music, right? And maybe help Crash win the Battle of the Bands," Frank pointed out. Dylan seemed to think that over. "Maybe that won't be so bad," he said slowly. "I really do miss making music. Maybe making music even without Lucy will make me feel better." Joe nodded. "Maybe. It is worth a shot, right?" Dylan raised his head from the table and sat up. It seemed like he was coming back to life. He sniffed, then he wrinkled his nose. "I stink," he said. "Kind of," said Frank. Dylan shook his head. "Well, thanks for trying to find Lucy, you guys. How do I get this bus tonight?" "Talk to a guy named Clyde who plays with the Jesus with accordions," he said. He'll book you up." Dylan thanked them again. "You guys want some lemonade and cookies?" he asked. "I better go take a shower before the battle." "No thanks," said Frank, standing up from the table. "Hey, is Paul around? I'd like to say hi while we're here." Dylan nodded. "Sure, he's in his room. Follow me." He led them back through the living room and set up stairs to a bright hallway. A closed door was covered with cartoon drawings and a sign that said, "This is Paul's lair. Keep out." Joe could hear the sounds of video games being played inside. Dylan ignored the sign and knocked on the door. "Hey, Paul," he yelled. "Paul, your friends are here, man." The bleeps and bloops of the video game stopped, and Joe could hear someone slowly walking to the door. He opened, and Paul blinked up at them. He looked from Dylan to Frank to Joe. He didn't look very happy to see any of them. "Hi," said Frank. "We're here to see your brother, so we wanted to say hello." Paul didn't smile. "Hello," he said. Joe tried to look past Paul to the TV that was hooked up to a state-of-the-art game console. "Is that a Joe right you're playing?" he said. Paul nodded. "Yeah," he said, seemed to remember his manners. "Do you guys want to come in and play?" "Just for a few minutes," said Frank. "We need to get home in time for Mom and Dad to take us to the Battle of the Bands." Paul led them inside and Dylan headed off to shower. Paul quickly explained the rules of the joyride and he handed a controller to Frank for the boys to share. Well, he took the other one. He pressed start and the music began playing, and soon Joe was lost in one of his favorite places, the world of video games. Joyride was just as awesome as all the gaming magazines said it was. He had just jumped into a brand new Mustang and was preparing for a drive down the Malibu coast when suddenly Joe's thumb slipped and he dropped the controller. "R," he said. "Pause it, please. Paul, hold on." "Wait," cried Paul, but Joe had already scrambled down to all fours and was peering underneath Paul's bed. At first he wasn't sure what he was looking at. It wasn't the controller. The thing Paul had stashed under the bed was candy apple red and as shiny as patent leather. Joe's mouth dropped open as the truth hit him. "Lucy," he cried, not quite believing it.